39 days ago, I started a challenge to make $500,000. Today, I still haven't made a single dollar online. Most people would call this a failure, but what if failure is actually part of the plan? Because success doesn't belong to the fastest, it belongs to the person who refuses to stop. And today, in this explainer, we're looking at the ultimate extremes of that exact mindset. We're going to merge the step-by-step grind of building life-changing wealth with the raw, visceral survival of high-stakes isolation. We want to know what happens when you push the human mind to its absolute breaking point. Let's get right into it.
So let me put you in the hot seat right now. Ask yourself, do you truly have what it takes to endure absolute sensory deprivation? Think about it. You walk into a room, the heavy doors lock behind you, and that's it. You won't see the sky, breathe fresh air, or even know what time it is for over 3 months. Honestly, it sounds like a fast track to losing your mind, right? But what if there was a massive, life-altering reward waiting for you on the other side?
Yup, $500,000. That is the massive, undeniable stake on the line in Jimmy, Mr. Beast's Ultimate Isolation Challenge. The setup is wild. 2 complete strangers are placed in a bright, white, totally soundproof cube, with $500,000 sitting in a vault just outside the door. If they both make it 100 days, they win the money. But if even one of them taps out early, they both walk away with absolutely nothing.
And just to give you a taste of how insanely realistic and anxiety-inducing this gets, listen to this raw realization from Bailey, one of the contestants. Very early on, the psychological toll just takes over. He realizes the absolute magnitude of the void he stepped into. No phones, no clocks, no sun. Just blinding lights and a ticking clock in his own head. It's brutal.
Section 1. The Setup and Strategy.
You know, no one starts a massive grind expecting to fail. The early days are always filled with optimism. Let's contrast this survival setup with another kind of grind, building wealth. Financial educator Mark Tilbury breaks this down perfectly. The traditional route, going to school, getting good grades, landing a 9-to-5 job, nets the average person around $63,000 a year. But to reach the extreme route, like a $10,000 a month business or winning a massive survival payout, you have to completely abandon the norm. You have to master high-income skills, or in the case of our challengers, completely master your own mind.
Tilbury offers a simple 3-step framework for surviving this financial grind. Step 1, relentlessly consume knowledge. Step 2, apply it in the real world. And hey, give yourself the freedom to fail. Step 3, educate others to build a scalable system. What's absolutely fascinating is how perfectly this mirrors the discipline needed for a 100-day survival challenge. You have to learn your environment, adapt to the harsh reality, and build a system just to keep yourself sane. Both scaling a business and entering a challenge start with what we call the honeymoon phase. In the Mr. Beast cube, Bailey and Susie were politely introducing themselves, setting up their beds, super optimistic about the money. In the digital world, when YouTuber Ryan Trahan spent 100 days locked in the metaverse, his honeymoon phase was a blast. He was making new virtual friends, playing games, and confidently trying to become the most famous person in that digital world.
Section 2. The Psychological Breaking Point.
But listen, the honeymoon phase, it never lasts. Let's map out how this raw emotional realism builds over a 100-day timeline. By day 20 in the cube, sleep deprivation is absolutely wrecking Bailey and Susie. By day 60, intense paranoia has totally hijacked their decision-making. And by day 99, it is pure hostility. I mean, they are hiding board game pieces from each other and fighting over the temperature of the shower. The diminishing returns of their mental fortitude are just staggering.
The physical symptoms of the grind become agonizing. Inside the cube, the overhead lights were so blinding that they literally caused excruciating eye pain. Susie and Bailey actually had to construct makeshift shields out of spare materials just to hide from the glare. It's a visceral visual for the existential dread and the physical toll that extreme pressure places on the human body.
And isolation isn't just physical, right? It's digital too. Ryan Trahan experienced a profound, terrifying loneliness in the metaverse. His only normal virtual friend, a user named Clay, suddenly froze and vanished because his headset died. Ryan was left surrounded by a completely empty, fake digital world. The profound loneliness hit him so hard that he was literally crying himself to sleep in his VR headset.
When the mind is left in total isolation, paranoia takes the wheel. There's this raw account from a similar psychological room experiment where a subject noted, "Today I found something in this room that should never have come to light, and honestly, I feel this experiment is getting dangerous." It captures that visceral dread perfectly. You stop trusting your environment, You stop trusting your partner, and worst of all, you stop trusting your own mind.
Section 3. The Price of Temptation. Now we reach a fascinating part of human psychology. What happens when escalating bribes are dropped into the void? Notice the exact temptations Jimmy threw at the contestants. On day 10, they rejected a $50,000 private chef to cook them real meals instead of eating canned chicken. On day 20, they rejected $50,000 for smart beds and the ability to turn off those blinding lights. But by day 70, their minds were so worn down that they paid over $100,000 for a bundle of basic human comforts.
You can actually visualize how the prize money just evaporated here. The desperation for comfort slowly overcame the desire for maximum wealth. On day 50, Susie was struggling so hard with isolation that they spent 20 grand of their prize pool just to see their families through a glass wall for a few minutes. It beautifully illustrates that no matter how much you want the money, basic human connection and comfort will eventually demand a massive premium.
But paranoia can also make you miss out on massive rewards. On day 60, Jimmy offered them a mystery box for $50,000. Paranoia convinced them it was a trick, so they agonized over it and rejected it. Well, Jimmy then opened the box to reveal their $50,000 back, plus the keys to 2 free Tesla dream cars. Susie literally cried, and the regret of that single paranoid choice poisoned the vibe in the room for the next 10 days.
Section 4. The Final Choice.
After 100 days of psychological decay, fighting, and rejecting cars, we arrive at the ultimate test of human character. The clock hits 0, and Jimmy brings them out of the cube. But the money isn't just handed over. They face the classic, cinematic psychological pressure of the prisoner's dilemma. They have 2 buttons. The first is split. If they both press it, they split the remaining $360,000 evenly.
The second button is steal. If one presses split and the other presses steal, the stealer takes everything and the other person gets absolutely nothing. But here are the devastating stakes. If they both push steal, the money vanishes. They would have endured 100 days of absolute isolation and mental torture for exactly $0.
The raw tension in the room is thick enough to cut with a knife. Bailey is hovering his finger over the button. Susie is wearing noise-canceling headphones that cannot communicate at all. Bailey is thinking, I know what I've been through, but what is she going to choose? Will 100 days of shared suffering breed loyalty, or just pure, unadulterated greed? In the end, they both chose split. After all the hostility, the human bond they forged in that isolation was actually stronger than the temptation to steal. It perfectly mirrors Ryan Trahan's realization at the end of his 100 days in the metaverse. When he finally met his virtual friend Clay in the real world, he realized that real-life connection and shared struggles mean infinitely more than virtual fame, ego, or pure blinding greed.
Which leaves us with one final provocative question. Whether you are grinding to build a business, trying to survive a digital landscape, or enduring an extreme physical challenge, what is the true breaking point of your own mind? And more importantly, when you reach that breaking point, what are you truly willing to sacrifice to cross the finish line? Keep that in mind the next time you face your own ultimate challenge. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I'll see you in the next one.